This is going to be a fun episode of Hold My Cutter coming your way from Bern by Rocky Patel, just a couple of blocks from the North Shore. Because on this show, we talk baseball, of course, hold my cutter, baseball, cut fastball, the cutter, and the cutter of the cigar. But we have someone who is maybe outside the box would describe Bethany Hallam. Is that fair to say?
That's a really nice way to put it. Yeah. That's a nice way to put it.
So maybe down
Elegant,
at some point we might get into politics, because she and I are polar opposites. I won't tell you where she stands or where I stand. We'll just say that.
We'll figure it out
or
quick.
Michael, for that matter.
But the cool part is when you were telling me about Bethany and her coming on, that you can actually have the conversation.
Well, I see. I think Bethany, no disrespect, is almost an old soul. I'm an old soul, but in the respect that we respect each other, like we can argue over a cigar and maybe a drink. Now, we've got some coffee here. Good coffee, by the way.
Yeah.
Take a sip of this.
Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that good coffee? Here at Bern?
I love caffeine.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But anyway, so we have had we haven't known each other forever, but a couple of times we had some really good knock-em sock-em debates and arguments.
Here even.
Here. And
this is the ring.
What I really love
I
about
love
Bethany, I think it's so cool, so old school, is that she's passionate about, and she really believes it too. I think too many people in politics are phony politicians. She's a real politician who firmly believes in her stuff, and I feel the same way. So anyway,
And I respect that, by the way. Before we even get started, people that have a reason and have a why, you have a background, you have a reality. We all do. So we know what we know from the context of our life and the knowledge that we've gained. The only way to learn more is to talk to people that know something different, right? Or people that are way smarter than you. Exactly. Yeah. And that's how you come together.
Yeah.
Allegheny County Council member Bethany Hallam. We ask everybody to start with their story. You're a Pittsburgher. You're a Yinzer, right?
I got the 412 tattooed on my lip. That's
literally does.
Pirates on my hip, 412 on my lip.
You got,
tattoo.
Wait. You really have it?
She's got the tattoo on 412 under her lip. And,
did that hurt?
And then for the TV audience,
the black
for the
and yellow
visuals,
nails,
she's actually showing
all in. I love that you didn't put the star. It's just a true P.
Yeah,
that's real.
Of course.
That's real. Wow.
So anyway, your start.
My start.
She's actually an athlete, a big athlete. North Hills High School lacrosse, right?
Yeah, I was the goalie.
And
Yeah.
I'm leaving my hat backwards because you said I looked like a catcher.
You did.
And I know now why you said that. You're a goalie.
And similar to McHenry, you got hurt playing lacrosse. He got hurt in a major league game.
Yep.
What happened?
I was in my junior year, and we were practicing a new trick play. So in girls lacrosse, we don't have a pocket in our stick like the boys do, right? Okay. But the goalie does.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the goalie isn't allowed to score a goal with the goalie stick. And so if a goalie ever...
So how does it work with the actual position players?
They have a flat net that you just cradle up here instead of down here like the guys do.
My brother played lacrosse, college lacrosse. Yeah. I never knew the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When the boys test their stick, they can see the whole ball in the net. So you hold your stick sideways and you can see the whole ball in the net. Yeah. Before the game, to make sure it's regulation.
Right.
For the girls, you can't see the ball underneath.
I never knew that.
So is that because the boys need a ball sack?
Most lacrosse players that are girls have bigger ones than the guys do.
I don't get it.
That's why they put us in skirts too.
I did.
Try to feminize the sport. But it's tough.
Make it make sense
girls lacrosse?
Yeah, but it should be tough because you don't have when you have to do this the whole time. That's a lot harder. Why don't you have a net? That makes no sense.
I have no idea.
There's no reasoning.
No reasoning that I know of. It's just a different sport. The boys are more contact than the girls are, so I always assumed that it was because when you get body checked, which you can't do in girls lacrosse, you can only stick check. Boys can full-on body check each other. And so it's probably easier to keep the ball in the net.
Unbelievable.
Whenever you're getting checked.
Wait, Bethany, you said something about a goalie can't score a goal. Would you?
In girls lacrosse, because the goalie has more of a pocket than the other team members do.
Once again, that's weird.
Yeah, and so a goalie stick can't score. So we were practicing this trick play where I would get the ball, I would pass it to one of the players on the field, I would run out of the crease, go and grab her stick, run down the field and score.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're practicing this play, and it was just, it seemed so inconsequential at the time. Like my foot planted and my leg kept moving when we were doing the stick pass, and I tore my ACL. I didn't even know at the time what I did. It hurt a little bit.
You got wobbly?
It got really weak, but I didn't have any pain yet. It wasn't until my parents came to pick me up, we were on our way home, that it started hurting, and throughout the night, I was in excruciating pain.
The next day you're like, uh-oh.
went to the hospital. They scheduled an MRI, got an MRI. They knew as soon as I got there what I did. And so that's really when it started, right? So I got the surgery, I did the physical therapy, and throughout it all, I'm prescribed painkillers. And I'm taking them as directed, as needed for pain. And I go through all my rehab. I'm getting cleared to go back to lacrosse, and I'm in gym class my senior year in high school, playing handball, and I took gym class very, very seriously.
I would have guessed that.
You're a competitor.
Yeah.
I love
You don't
sports,
like
but
to
I
lose,
also
do you?
love to win.
Bethany, you don't like to lose.
No, I don't lose very often.
Okay.
In case you haven't seen,
We'll
but-
talk about that a little bit later.
So you have to define losing, I guess, right?
Yeah. Different people have different standards.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
absolutely.
tore my ACL again, like 9 months later.
Same.
My other leg.
I was about to say it's
Oh my
very
God.
rare to do, the
same one.
the same leg.
And so I did it. And so that was like 9 more months. It was almost 18 months altogether that I was on painkillers, going through surgeries and rehab.
So you finished? It's a 6 to 8 month rehab.
Yep.
Where were you at when you were playing handball?
Oh, I was at about 8.5 months, almost 9.
Okay, so that's when you're supposed to be full go, but
Yeah.
for your sport, not necessarily.
By the way-
And it wasn't lacrosse season, which was why I was like preparing for my senior year season.
Gotcha.
I ended up getting hurt right before it started.
By the way, Bethany, why lacrosse? What made you pick up lacrosse?
Because it's a badass sport.
But what about, were there other sports? Softball?
I was a swimmer most of my life.
okay.
And so once you get to a certain level of swimming, it is such a high
But like,
commitment.
why?
Why is swimming such a high commitment?
No. Why did you choose? Like,
It was a new sport. My babysitter, actually, who lived down the street,
Okay.
who has since passed away, she was really inspirational in my life, and her boyfriend were on the first North Hills lacrosse team. The sport was just coming. When I started in 7th grade, which is when North Hills junior high starts, that was the first year that North Hills had a middle school team. And the boys' team was still club. It wasn't even school
and you
sanctioned
stopped
yet.
swimming, right?
I stopped
Because
swimming.
Greg, I don't
can't
know if
do
you
that.
know their hours.
Oh,
it's
insane. Yeah.
miserable.
Work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The only way you get into it is someone that you really cared about says, you should do this. And you
Yeah.
do it and you're like, I can't quit.
Yeah.
You can't.
First time I swam a mile, I thought I was going to drown. And they were just looking at me. And I'm like, does anybody help me if I do fall under? It was awful.
Oh, I love swimming. I love
I do
swimming.
too, but it's
But
I
you
even
had to-
taught a few years ago.
But
I
you had to
actually
give it up. You
taught
had to give it up
swim lessons.
for lacrosse. You
Yeah,
can't-
I mean,
can't-
swimming turned into you have to practice in the morning at 5
Yeah.
a.m. You have to practice after school at 3 p.m. twice a night. You have to do dry land in the off season. It just turned into. I loved it, but it was such a commitment that I had to choose between just swimming or everything else.
Okay.
And so someone I really cared about got me into lacrosse, and I loved it.
Were you good at it?
Oh, I was so good at it. I got picked for national goalie school, and
Wow.
I was really into. I mean, that was my plan. I was going to go to college and play lacrosse.
Really?
And-
Was North Hills any good as a team?
Well, when I was on the
Well,
team, but in general, North Hills has a good lacrosse team.
Of
I
course.
won't say that I
Dig
had
me
anything
much?
to do with it, but we were
I was
really.
the team.
Yeah.
Now start talking in third person, we'd be set.
A lot of the players from the North Hills girls team went on to play in college. A lot of the
that's cool.
guys from the boys team, even when it was club, went on to play in college. As some of the former players or even coaches now. Yeah, it was a pretty
That's
big
cool.
thing, and it was just getting started. So there was a lot of hype around it because it was a new sport, and it
Do you
was fun
do
to
you
watch.
follow it at all? In
I have
any-
a lacrosse stick. I watch
But you don't
college
like what
lacrosse
you do?
sometimes.
Wow. Yeah.
No, I miss it.
Yeah.
And
You should
so,
play. I
know.
guarantee you there's an adult league. There's an adult cricket league
I am
here.
never, ever, ever. I did some PSL, about Pittsburgh Sports League. I did that. I played kickball. It's basically beer kickball. They have other sports, though, too.
Oh, cool.
I did some sand volleyball for them. But 2 years ago, I actually tore my ACL again.
Wow.
And so, and it was
How'd you do that?
It was so on a pogo stick showing off for a bunch of kids at a block party. And everybody said, do not get on the pogo stick. You have bad knees.
I would have gotten on the pogo
I
stick
got
too.
on it and I was doing tricks so when you jump and you spin it while you're jumping.
yeah.
And the kids were so impressed and until I fell. And
Unbelievable.
To make her feel a little bit better, I partially fractured my wrist this summer on a skateboard,
yeah,
showing off with
I bet.
my neighbor 6-year-old. We were having some
it's
fun.
always the kids. Bad influences.
Yeah, it's like I skateboard and then I wasn't paying attention. There's whatever trucked me. I went.
Yeah.
So you're.
That's what happened to me.
You're.
It was traumatic though when I did it again because after those first 2 times I got hooked on the pain pills.
So explain that a little bit more. Like, what did they prescribe you? Because I've
Vicodin.
had 6 knee surgeries.
Oh my god.
I had an issue with OxyContin. When they
Yeah.
gave it to, I got angry, I got mad, and I decided enough's enough, and that's what
Yeah.
they always prescribed me. And
You were lucky. I would have.
well, my last surgery, I did it because the ACL, they're like, you have to take this. It's going to be really tough. The other ones, I kind of stayed away from it after my first one, and it's no joke. It's no joke. So go into that a little bit more. I've talked to a lot of people that have dealt with that because addiction runs in my family, and I was really interested to hear how that progressed, but I didn't realize there was 3 ACL surgeries.
Yeah, so the last one was, separate because I couldn't take any pain medication for it because of what happened with the first 2. And so what happened was, I was prescribed pain pills for about 18 months altogether from start to finish, regular Vicodin. And my mom's a pharmacist, right? So that's an important part of the story too, because my mom, we very much knew what we were doing, right? We knew we were to follow doctor's orders to make sure that I didn't have control of the pills, that I had to ask for permission to get them, that I wasn't, running out of them 3 days into the prescription. We were I felt like we were pretty strict about it. And then the last time I went to a doctor's appointment for your clearance to your checkup to make sure I was done and able to be finished with the pills and, continue with my physical therapy, the next day I woke up and I was sick. And I felt like I had the flu. My body ached. Touching my hair hurt. I felt stuffy, felt like shit, right? And I thought I was sick. I didn't even connect that it had anything to do with I had just stopped taking these pills every day.
Was it just the next day?
The very next day.
Do you think a lot of that had to do with the I'm not going to get too scientific, but the chemicals in your brain and also playing a full body trick? Mm-hmm. Because usually it takes a little bit longer. Do you think that's the first stage that you felt like my brain is playing a trick on my body?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on because you have hindsight now, obviously.
Exactly. It's easy to look back.
Right.
That.
But then you're like, what's happening?
Right.
Okay.
And so I didn't know what it was. That was all it was I knew something was off.
Mm-hmm.
I knew something felt wrong. I didn't even really think twice about it. And I was telling a friend of mine, and I don't want to act like I was innocent at this point in my life, right? It wasn't I was drinking underage. I was smoking weed. I was doing things that I think other 16, 17-year-olds
Do you think that played into it?
were doing.
It always scares me with younger people.
It opened me to a group of people who were also doing drugs. And so when I went to a friend and said, I don't feel well, he's like, oh, well, it's because you're going through withdrawal. You're starting withdrawal. You were taking these pills every day and now you're not. That's why you're sick. Wow. Take this pill and you'll feel better.
Huh. And you did.
And I did. And I did that regularly. They ended up being his little sister's cancer pain medications. Didn't even know. And at a point, once I found out, to be honest, I didn't even care. I was so just this is what makes me feel normal. It wasn't even high.
You were so far down.
I was so far gone because the first year and a half of it happened without me even noticing.
And you're 17 now?
17 years old, yeah. Wow. And so I took that and then I was, getting them from him and then eventually getting them from other people that you just end up in circles where other people were doing pills too. There were points, Oxycontin was just starting to, get noticed as a problem.
Yeah, all mine were in my adult years.
Yeah, and so that's when they were trying to wean away from that, and they were moving to a drug called Opana, which was kind of like Oxycontin mixed with morphine, double as strong.
Well, that sounds miserable.
And actually what we would do is we would find little old ladies who were prescribed these strong pain medications and couldn't afford to get their prescriptions. We would pay for the prescriptions for them, and she'd give us half the pills. And so I probably had, in the years of doing pills, I probably had 4, 5, 6 old ladies in that same exact situation who, again, the healthcare system failed them. They needed these medications, but they'd rather have a half a pill a day than have none at all, and they could never afford it. So I would buy them, different people's grandmas, aunts, neighbors, people they'd meet at work.
And the saddest part about what she's saying about kind of how that all works is they'll move you to another drug.
Right.
And you've been on the same drug, and that causes another issue.
It's not the same, right?
Yeah, and how's your body going to respond? What's going to happen? Everybody's completely different. And that's what's sad about the healthcare system. I think the insurance companies have a huge issue with that. But sometimes paying for it and not using any of that is actually cheaper, I've found.
Right.
I pay for some of my medications early on because the insurance is so high because I don't hit my premium. I wait till that comes in, then all of a sudden I have a cheaper insurance. But people aren't taught that.
No, and why
that's
would
sad.
you be? Why would you think
But that gave you an open door.
Exactly.
Sad.
And then one day I went to undergrad at Duquesne. And
so you're still functional, you're full throttle.
When I was doing pills, it was very functional. It was at the point where even my parents were suspicious I was up to something, but they didn't think it was what it was. They never thought that it was pills. They never thought that I was buying them illegally. They thought that I was done using them when the prescription ended, but they knew something was up. And
how'd you get the money?
Oh, I
Do you
always
mind?
worked. I've been working almost full time since I was 13,
I wanted to
14
hear-
years old. I was 13 years old. The old Highland Country Club, if you remember that. That was my very first job. I was the only girl caddy at Highland Country Club.
No kidding.
Yeah, my 7th grade teacher was the caddy master at the time, and got me a job there. After that, I worked at a pharmacy, a little family pharmacy in the neighborhood I grew up, selling lottery tickets, working the cash register, eventually waitressing there at their lunch counter. And so I always worked, and I loved working. I'd babysit on the side. I like having money. I like to spend money.
Those two things usually, the addiction and pills and everything, and that type of work
Doesn't necessarily
ethic
go
doesn't
hand
go
in
to
hand, right?
because it usually does opposite because that's a downer.
Yeah.
They
Right.
start to fall. So
Whereas it was very quickly at the point where I couldn't go to work unless I was high. And so people always imagine that you're like, nodding off every time you get high. A lot of the times it was just I was able to get out of bed and function. And by the time I got to college, it was definitely that. If I didn't have drugs to wake up with in the morning, I could not go to class for the whole day.
and that was what 3 years in.
3 years in. And then I went to 2 years in. And then I went to class all day. And then I worked at the Marriott across from the Civic Arena every day after school. And so I always worked because I had to get money to get high. And then one day in undergrad, I gave a friend money to go get me pills, and he came back with heroin. And it was like, well, you can either be sick or you can do this heroin. And I didn't even think about it. I did the heroin, and I never stopped.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a needle.
Like a needle. Wow. Literally,
'Cause that
thought
changed
I was
everything.
getting pills to snort up my nose. And instead, I got a bag of heroin. Which, by the way, cost much less money than the pill I was buying.
Well,
so I
that's the-
definitely got ripped off.
that's the problem.
But, yeah.
So, but you spiraled out of control then at that point.
Really quickly after that. Because heroin's cheaper at first, and then very soon it's not anymore. One bag's $10, but when you have to do 30 a day, you're spending $250 to do that.
30 a day.
Oh, yeah, for most of my heroin addiction.
Like put that in comparison of when you're taking pills. Like how many pills would you take?
So a pill would be like $80 a piece, and I'd probably take 2 of them throughout a day. Like one would last me half a day. It had a longer
Why
half-life.
30 bags a day of heroin? Like explain that.
Oh, very quickly.
But like
Started
why?
off with one, and then you got to do that more times a day than you have to do pills.
Because
And
it goes through your system faster.
exactly.
Wow.
And that was when, so people talk a lot about fentanyl now. Back then, like when you were looking to buy heroin, you were looking for fentanyl. Like you didn't want bags of heroin that didn't have fentanyl in it because it was such a better high than just regular heroin. It lasted longer, it was a stronger high, and again, more
never heard
economical. If you're lasting longer, you're doing fewer bags a day, you're saving money. And so, all this talk about fentanyl today, it's like, no, that's been around. That has been around. It's just knowing and being able to prepare and keep yourself safe from it.
Right. There's no regulations, obviously.
There should be. We could talk about that. I think the only way to end the overdose epidemic is to legalize all drugs the same way we legalize the drugs that we're consuming right now.
Tax the living
Tax it.
daylights out of it.
Legalize it, stop people from dying.
Okay, well, we'll get into that down the road. Some might
I don't
disagree with
know.
that.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So-
but I do know this, Brownie. If I was gonna ever talk about it, I'd want to talk to somebody that's been through it.
Oh, 100%.
And I think
100%.
I
how
appreciate
often
that.
decisions
No.
are made in every aspect.
No doubt.
And this isn't just
Yeah,
politics.
I'm-
every
I'm-
aspect, and it's like, where's the person that's actually going to be
No
affected?
doubt. That's why
Yeah.
I respect
Yeah,
all this.
absolutely.
So at some point, we
Yeah.
definitely want to get into that. But I want to ask, what did you go to school to study initially?
Public
to King?
relations and a Spanish minor.
Wow. What did you want to do?
I had no idea. I knew I liked people. So I thought public relations was the best way to do that. But I don't remember. I mean, other than being a little girl and wanting to be the president or a
Yeah,
lawyer when I
right.
grew up, both of which I'm kind of doing
Yeah,
now. But
yeah.
I don't remember in my getting to adult life ever having a career in mind.
Did this
Even before-
situation happen? Did that become?
Heroin was all you think about. I wake up thinking about
That's
it.
what I
I
was
spend all
gonna-
day
yeah.
working to get money to be able to go
So
and get it so that I'm not sick.
So do
and
you
I
ever wonder
it
what you would have done had you never
every
touched it?
single day.
Where you would have
There's
gone?
no way in the world I'd be doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
now. No way, because I wouldn't have the passion, the motivation,
No,
the
yeah.
experience.
But
to
why do you
what
say
I
that?
did. Because I would have just lived a regular ass
So you
life.
didn't want to be into public relations or be a lawyer or be the president prior to that?
I mean, when I was a wee little kid,
Yeah.
in
Okay,
like
and it came
kindergarten,
back
I
around.
wanted to be that. And then once I was in my recovery and I started seeing the things that I care about, I realized that those things were actually how I wanted to help people.
Yeah, I wonder, just as you're a sophomore, junior at North Hills High School.
Yeah.
You're considering
I'm
college
doing
as
Future Business Leaders of America. I'm doing debate club. I
see,
was
okay.
again.
Oh,
I
so
was,
you were in, all right.
Yeah, I was
Debate
doing
club?
stuff.
Yeah.
I was in all the gifted programs. I took all
Oh.
the advanced placement classes, the college and high school
Okay.
classes. I went to CCAC half day my
Oh, wow.
senior year and got some college credits. And I was again using drugs while this was all happening. It was very early on. It was just pills at that time. It was like low doses of pills. Because I also have very strict parents. So my parents were on me like a hawk. It wasn't until when I went to Duquesne, I lived there, even though it was 15 minutes from home. And I had all this freedom that I had never, ever had before. And so it spiraled pretty quickly.
So Bethany Hallam, then now you wind up literally on the streets.
Oh, yeah. It was mainly in the back of a car. Sleeping in rest stop parking lots, Walmart
age range. So like you started taking heroin in
16,
college.
Oh, yeah. In college, heroin. Yeah.
Sophomore year, freshman year?
Freshman year.
And then now take it from there. When did you end up? Because
as soon as I graduated,
so
I
you
barely
graduated first.
Oh, I graduated. I have an undergrad.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I have a bachelor's from Duquesne.
Think about that, Brownie.
That's
I would argue that heroin was one of the reasons why I was able to get through.
Well, at that point maybe, but like thinking about how did you go to class? Mm-hmm. You're sitting in class for an hour and a half. I don't know how long this stuff lasts. Did you have to leave class, come back? Did you spend more time
between all my classes? I'd get high in the morning before I went to class. In
Just anywhere?
Oh, I carry a little bag. I had a little Crown Royal bag that I kept my needles, empty stamp bags. If I didn't have any bags, I could scrape them and do the leftover powder in them. Wow. A spoon, cotton swabs, all the tools.
I mean, you're a major outlier because
why?
Because could anybody else have done this? Many people could have functioned as well, graduated.
I think that you would be so surprised how many people do.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And succeed.
Succeed is the biggest thing. Like
you weren't just
people
you
maintain
were a
lot.
You
were a good student.
In college, you can literally look at my transcript and see the downhill.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. I was a great student in high school. I started off beginning of my freshman year in college really strong. And so I'm back in school now. I'm in law school again at Duquesne. And so I can still look at all my old transcripts in the same portal that I'm now looking at my grades now. Wow. And I watch just this steep decline.
No. Like how
semester
bad?
After semester grades. I mean, by the time I finished, I barely finished.
Oh, okay.
So I was retaking classes that I failed. I graduated barely. There is no requirement
how many years?
other than passing. 4 years.
So once again, you're 4 years younger than me, I believe. 5 years was most people. So once again, to your point, Brownie, you're high functioning and you finished the race, and I think that speaks to who you are. But that doesn't happen, I don't think, with addicts that well, because when you get that far gone, even if you're falling off the table, the fact that you got through it means that meant something, because like that's incredible to me.
And I think I even thrive better in situations like that. Like I notice even now, I like to have a million things on my plate.
I love chaos too.
I love the chaos. It works well for me. The hard part is it doesn't work well for other people all the time.
Nope.
So I have to be careful in which environments I bring.
Sustainable.
It is also not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. Short spurts, but not sustainable.
But I noticed as soon as I finished college and that major responsibility was on, like the one thing my parents had beat into my head over and over again my whole life, you have to go to college. It was not an option in my house. You had to go to college. You had to get a degree. Now, I'm so thankful that they did that, because I would have never at that point in my life done it on my own. I would have never finished, and I would never be able to do what I'm doing now if it wasn't for having that piece of paper from undergrad.
Right.
And so I'm very thankful for that. But I did it, and then it was just...
Well, what did you do then when you graduated? What happened?
I waitressed, I bartended, I was in and out of trouble. That's when I started getting arrested. I had been, in trouble for like underage drinking in high school, but I had never anything else like that before. I'd get caught with needles or empty stamp bags. I'd be driving without a license. So I lost my license for 10 days, got caught driving right before I got it back, and I ended up losing it for 10 years. I got caught over and over and over again. They add a year every single time. So I lost my license from 2010 till 2020.
Dang.
And
so did you have a Greyhound pass? What'd you do then?
No, and this was before like Uber was big and stuff too. So people didn't. I drove without a license, as you can tell by how many years I got added on. I just kept driving and kept driving, kept driving.
So it didn't really matter.
Right, until I got a DUI.
Oh.
And I fell asleep in a 7-Eleven parking lot. And when I say fall asleep, I mean passed out from drugs. And I fell asleep in a 7-Eleven parking lot middle of the night. I woke up to the police banging on the door. And I got a DUI. And when you get caught driving on a DUI suspended license, you can actually go to jail or house arrest for getting caught doing that. So, that was around the time. Now I'm like hiding, right? So Westview police always had it out for me, so I just wouldn't drive through Westview. The Ross police would sit at the top of my parents' streetway. I knew where to go. Them. Exactly.
What did your parents think during this time?
At this point, they're pretty disgusted with me, pretty disappointed. My mom and dad had very different approaches to how they handled it. Both, I think, worked out and complimented each other, but very different approaches.
Which one was more strict?
My mom.
Really?
Oh yeah, wouldn't talk to me.
Daddy's
Disappointed.
girl, yeah.
I'm a daddy's girl.
Okay.
My dad's my best friend in the whole entire world.
Unbelievable.
Oh, so your mom had it tough.
Oh, my mom had it tough. Like my mom would tell me I couldn't come home,
Your poor
and my
mother.
dad would unlock the basement
Oh,
door.
my gosh.
I probably shouldn't say that in case they watch this, and they're gonna be fighting over
Unbelievable.
this.
Can you imagine that? Seeing that?
Real talk.
Yeah.
What did that do to their marriage? Are they still together? Mm-hmm. That's amazing. How many times?
43 years they've been together.
That's amazing. Because how many times the love of a child breaks up that marriage?
The loss of a child too. I've seen
Yeah,
break
yeah,
up marriages.
and
Which, to a degree, is almost losing a child.
It is.
That,
At that point,
you feel like it? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, how proud are they of you now?
I think it's still kind of unbelievable to them. I think they have a hard time grasping.
I can't imagine what they must think.
Yeah, they feel like they know me too well to be like as proud of me as other people are. So that's kind of what they maintain.
Just shaking their head.
Yeah, they're like, oh, do you guys know her though? But
So keep them off the campaign trail.
Yeah. Oh, so my parents are not political. That's like a unique thing in politics.
Yeah.
I've realized is people who don't have political
That's probably where
parents.
you get your like reasoning and understanding and want to debate.
Yes. Oh, my dad and I will have debates.
That's hilarious.
Because my parents are
Oh
the
my-
same way. My dad's now political, but I grew up and I knew nothing. Until 2020, I didn't even pay attention to the news or anything else. It was baseball. It was doing stuff in the community. I like to be active. But then all of a sudden I'm asking questions and both sides are destroying me.
Right.
Because I just wanted to understand because I never got any of those conversations.
People don't answer questions.
Yeah.
They change
so
the
I grew up the
question to
same
what they
way.
want to
I didn't
answer.
ever have that conversation and being able to talk to you, Rob King, different opinions and having some arguments and some people didn't want to deal with it. Other people's, were willing to sit and have a great conversation. It changed my world. It helped me understand a lot of things that I needed to understand, but no matter what, I always was willing to say, well, tell me why. Like, let's hear why.
This is, as the lights go on, this is almost like we're in the bottom of the first inning of a 9-inning game.
Almost like it.
With Bethany Hallam. This is just a teaser on, and she loves the name, by the way, of the podcast, Hold My Cutter. She goes, oh, my cutter's my favorite pitch in baseball.
She did with the lacrosse stick, I heard.
Yeah.
Join us for the next episode, might be, with Bethany Hallam on Hold My Cutter. Great to have you, Beth.
Glad to be here.
I said Beth.
You were a little mad, though. You're a little mad. You're getting ready. You're getting ready for that, like,
Join us
debate.
next time we're on with Bethany Hallam.
Only Beth when I'm in trouble.
Right.